So what happens when your life falls apart? How do you face it? In this video, I asked myself, will I recover from my anniversary disaster? Maybe you can identify and ask yourself, what would I do? Coming up next, right here. What's up, overcomers? This is Grow Your Life with Mike, helping you go further, faster in healing, growth, and change. Let's get right to the story. We had to get the boat we live on fixed. This is always a tough time because we're vulnerable to how much it costs. You know, lots of stress. We could have stayed on the boat while it was in the yard, more stress. But my wife Diane and I were so excited about our 23rd wedding anniversary, we reserved a hotel and set our plans to celebrate during this ordeal. 3 days into the anniversary, I mentioned to Diane that my leg had been asleep. It should have been normal by now. I said to her, I must be having a stroke. We better go to the hospital. She gave me an aspirin and I had trouble swallowing it. So I was able to walk down the stairs with her help, but it was really hard. It really shook me up quite a bit. At the hospital, the CAT scan showed that I had a bleed in my brain. Of course, Diane didn't know if I would be permanently paralyzed or changed. It was like an alien had taken over part of my body when I couldn't use my right leg or hand like before. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. You know, I knew that God was going to see me through no matter what happened, always thinking that things will turn out okay. It'll be all right. At the same time, in the back of my mind, I wasn't afraid of death. This was now my 7th brush with death, but I was anxious about being permanently disabled. Either way, I was in God's hands and He would see me through. He had seen me through so far, and I knew that I had to face my unknown future and surrender to God. So His peace enveloped me. The next day they got me out of bed as I tried to walk, and I kept dragging my right foot. It felt like I was making a very high step with my right foot, just to not allow it to drag across the floor. I was glad to get back in bed so I could rest. It really wiped me out. 3 scans verified that the brain bleed had stopped, so they stabilized my blood pressure through medication and released me on the 3rd day. We stayed with friends so that we didn't have to stay on the boat while it was in dry dock being worked on. You know, I improved enough at their house that I could live on the boat again. A lot of booby traps. I was unknowingly rude, abrupt, and irrational, which deeply hurt Diane. She was so devastated that she suggested marriage counseling at our church. I didn't want to go, but I knew it was the best thing to do. And besides, I knew the counselor would straighten her out. But, you know, the counselor had known me for 20 years and said that I was not myself, which from our conversation during that time meant that I was more edgy, abrupt, wouldn't let things go easily. I wasn't aware of it, but it was there. So I realized that I wasn't seeing things clearly, not feeling things right. That was very scary. My wife was right, and worse yet, I was wrong. Being a counselor, I knew to pay attention to what he said, but because of the stroke, that took time to sink in. I learned that my thoughts and behaviors didn't match what others saw. My wife pointed out that my gift as a compassionate, diplomatic counselor at the core of my being was now out of whack. Humbled and kicked off by controlling my reasonings and actions, I wondered, how was I going to become more aware of how to express myself? 1 week later on the boat, things were going better. However, I couldn't write my signature. I panicked. It looked like a child's writing. My right hand wouldn't do what I wanted it to. It exhausted me and left me extremely frustrated. Communicating with Diane was still hard, and I got incredibly hurt concerning her. It had never been this way before in our 23 years of marriage. I was convinced that she didn't care or love me anymore. She had lost the husband she knew because I was being hard, rude, and was emotionally bullying her. I became so frustrated and feeling so much despair that it was like my life was over. My marriage was beyond fixing. Yet a week ago we were celebrating 23 years of marital bliss. It was great. But however, right now, at that point, I sensed that I could never return to counseling. Trying to put forth all this effort to not misunderstand was impossible. I was fed up with trying to read between the lines as we talked. My compassion and grace had expired like a can of bad beans, and I was tired of this whole mess. I didn't want to counsel anybody ever again. I couldn't even communicate with my wife, much less help others. I became panicked at the idea of not wanting to counsel others. I would lose my livelihood because of it. What would I do? How would we ever survive? I had to remind myself that God was still there. My friends constantly encouraged me and prayed for me. Because of the community of people that care and surround me, I pull through, facing these worries and concerns. My challenge now is being fit to counsel others. I'm getting stronger to where I feel nearer normal, not mouthing off to my wife as much. The last time Diane and I had a fight was a week ago. It was very painful. We had another lighter one yesterday, but I noticed what I was doing and we resolved it quicker. The speech therapist that evaluated my higher reasoning and memory is working with me and giving me cognitive exercises, getting me ready to return to work. So Diane and I are adapting and dealing with the changes as they come now. And hope is returning to us both to see beyond the crisis and challenges. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you want more videos like this, subscribe. Until the next time, Grow Your Life with Mike is all about keep living the life that God has given you, and we will talk soon.